point and demand that somebody be canceled because you hate him or because you hate somebody that he has put on his platform. And that is exactly what Mark Levin is doing here. I mean, he literally wrote a book on the power and importance of free speech and fighting back against cancel culture.
See, the thing is, they've always and only cared about the speech they want the freest. And that can include hate speech towards all of these different groups, different demographics. It's just reached a point now where it's also hate speech towards Jewish people, because there's been this association with Israel with all Jewish people and people who are very racist towards Jewish people, like say Nick Fuentes, like say Candace Owens.
So hello from New York, everyone. I am coming to you live from my hotel room, so if you hear taxis and sirens in the background, that is what is happening. This is a very interesting and unique, kind of exciting week to be in New York City, because obviously the mayoral election is happening today as we speak, because it is Tuesday. So if you have not gone out and voted yet,
how'd that work out?
And you live in New York City, please go do so. Also, if you are in Jersey, go vote, because you guys might be flipping red. If you elect a Republican governor, which it seems like you are very close to doing,
oops,
that would be incredible. So pause this video, go vote if you have not done so, then come back and we can keep talking about the insanity that just took place at this Republican Jewish coalition event. But first, I wanted you guys to hear that message of unity, because that is important. So go vote, do your civic duty. You can elect all the Republican presidents you want, but if you want change in your community, in your city, you need to go out and vote. All right, moving on from that, let's dive into this, because this event that happened last weekend, it very quickly just became the anti-Tucker Carlson conference. I mean, look at these signs that they had printed out that attendees were holding up in front of the stage. They say, Tucker is not MAGA. These were the people walking around the event, standing in front of the speakers, holding up these signs. But it didn't just stop with the signs. Basically, every single speaker that got up on stage either directly called out Tucker Carlson or alluded to his impact in the conservative movement. And one of the loudest voices was Mark Levin, who decided that actually he's changed his mind. And when it comes to Tucker Carlson, he does like cancel culture. Let's just take a watch.
Hitler admirers, Stalin admirers, Jew haters, American haters, Churchill haters. You're damn right we're going to cancel them and deplatform them. It's called the market system. They don't have a lifetime job like a bureaucrat who we're going to protect. And if they're your friend, there's something wrong with you. No Hitler admirer, Holocaust denier, platformer should be anybody's friend, as a matter of fact. You don't get to wrap your psychotic, mental, unhinged, Nazi, Klan, jihadist bullshit around American patriotism.
I hate to break it to all of you righties, but it's exactly what MAGA is now. Yeah. I mean, what a fucking beautiful disaster this is all shaping out to be. Every day that goes on, as all the fucking, you know, the splinter becomes greater and greater, and I could not be fucking, oh, I just want to sit back and enjoy popcorn at every single waking moment, because, yeah, this is where fascism leads. This is the road y'all have decided to participate in and go down. This whole MAGA movement, the combination of a lot of different factions, but, you know, you got the alt-right, you got the Groypers, you got the America First, you got the neo-reactionaries, you got the fucking right-wing tech bros, everyone together. Guess what? They don't just turn off the hatred at a certain point, you know? Again, everyone from fucking Ben Shapiro to Dinesh D'Souza to Ted Cruz, who are all now so upset at what's going on and being like, not in our party. This is not the Nazi party, all right? But come on, we have standards. This is all the bigotry that you have all been promoting for years, endlessly. You were all just fine as long it was like, if it's directed at the gays, oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, just as long as it's towards trans people, gay people. We're not entirely sure what asexual people are, but sure, we hate them too. Well, lesbians, hate them all. I hate every single one of them. Tons of hatred, and that's okay. Okay, you know what? You can go a little further. If you want to talk about black crime rates, that's totally fine. You want to talk about how you know, indigenous people were uncivilized, and then we came along and you know, we brought them to heal, gave them NyQuil. You know, that's something you can do. So that all that hate is okay to a certain extent, but like not Nick Fuentes. That's too far.
You don't get to claim you're MAGA and America first when you're lining up with the Marxists and the Islamists and Hamas and the terrorists. That's not America first.
These words have no meaning. Just all over, you know, just fucking shotgun firing at every single thing we don't like. The Marxist, Hamas, Islamic, communist, like.
That's sick.
Okay, so as a reminder, this event happened, all of these speeches have taken place on the heels of Tucker's interview with Nick Fuentes. So that is what Mark is talking about here. That is what Mark is alluding to when he says, you know, people who platform XYZ people like Nick Fuentes. And I'm so glad, Mark, that you are finally just being open, that you are telling everyone how inconsistent and hypocritical you are, that your values only apply to the left. Because let's just unpack everything we just heard in that 1 minute clip. First of all, you think that the market system is canceling people and deplatforming people who you disagree with. Not even people who you disagree with. You believe in canceling and deplatforming people who platform people that you do not like. That is truly insane. That goes against all of the principles, what I believe to be the principles of conservatism. You think that we should protect lifelong bureaucrats? Did you hear that when he said, you're not a bureaucrat who we are going to protect? That's insane. And also, who are you to be deciding who can be part of MAGA? I mean, that's just so ironic considering the fact that Mark Levin was one of the leaders and one of the loudest voices of the Never Trump movement that started way back in 2015. And now here he is 10 years later trying to gatekeep the movement because he doesn't like a few people and a few very loud voices. Now, I genuinely do not care if you hate Tucker. You have every right to. You are absolutely free to dislike him, to speak out against him, all of that. But your position is majorly weakened and you become a laughingstock, to be honest, if you are willing to compromise all of your stated principles, the principles that you have held for decades at this point.
I don't know if I agree with broken clock, because at the end of the day, that's a total lie. There are no principles. Like, the right are engaging in what they espouse cancel culture was to fucking insane degrees right now. It is non-stop. We are going to, like, it just depends if it's a group they don't like. If you happen to be a student who's, I don't know, opposing genocide on a campus, oh yeah, it's totally fine. Send the cops in there, smash the skulls, make sure they're evicted and get rid of them. Rounding people up and arresting them and jailing them for their speech. The whole free speech champions. No. Oh, they used to hate big tech. You remember that? That was the whole thing. Now they love it. They can't get enough big tech. Oh, it's just fucking, we need to pour billions, hundreds of billions of dollars into these tech companies. Not to mention Palantir, which, you know, it makes sense. Obviously, we got Peter Thiel's company. We got Peter Thiel propping up JD Vance, so he's directly in the pocket of the president now, or the other way around, I should say. But, wasn't that a thing that every right-winger was complaining and fear-mongering about for a long time? Alex Jones, his entire fucking ethos. Like, one day they're going to have secret monitoring systems that use advanced AI in order to track your every move and monitor everything you do because they want to control you. The elites want to... That's Palantir. You're describing Palantir, the company that's getting billions of dollars from the taxpayers right now. So they believe in nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Point and demand that somebody be canceled because you hate him or because you hate somebody that he has put on his platform. And that is exactly what Mark Levin is doing here. I mean, he literally wrote a book on the power and importance of free speech and fighting back against cancel culture. In that book, he said, and I quote, "Free speech is a requisite to all other freedoms. It is also how individuals and societies learn, reform, improve, progress, etc. It is how governments are held to account or adjust to the will of the people." That's what he wrote. That is what Mark Levin wrote in his book. And also, this is what he said on his show just a month ago. This is what he quoted about free speech.
Free speech is crucial to countering the government and those in power. It is crucial to sharing information.
See, the thing is, they've always and only cared about the speech they want the freest. And that can include hate speech towards all of these different groups, different demographics. It's just reached a point now where it's also hate speech towards Jewish people, because there's been this association with Israel, with all Jewish people, and people who are very racist towards Jewish people, like, say, Nick Fuentes, like, say, Candace Owens. Well, a lot of them are starting to become very, very strong opponents to the actions of the U.S. relationship with Israel. So now it's reached this crisis point where people like Ben Shapiro, again, were completely fine with every single form of hate speech imaginable, just the grossest, most vile, misogyny, homophobia, transphobia, racism. All that was totally fine as long as it was done to certain categories. And now that Nick Fuentes is being embraced by people like Tucker Carlson, Glenn Greenwald, and now, I guess, Brett Cooper as well, they're suddenly being like, that's not us. That's not MAGA. All right. No, this was not fascism. This was not Nazism. No. This was conservatism. Come on. A huge difference.
Information.
Your response was simply to wag fingers and demand that somebody you don't like be deplatformed. That is what the left does. That is not what we do. And yet Mark Levin and basically every speaker who took the stage spent all of their time during their speeches attacking Tucker and by proxy his audience and anybody who was questioning America's relationship with Israel or the blanket labels of anti-Semitism. Like, the label that I really care about right now is product of the USA, and thankfully I don't have to worry about that with Good Ranchers.
Even on vacation, just like seamless. 1 second, it seems like I actually care about the thing I'm talking about. I do care about this so much so that I want you to have delicious and great meat at cheap prices. That's how much I care about this issue. And by the way, but you know, ads aside, I'll obviously skip past all this tripe because that's all they'll sell you. It's most likely processed tripe. The right is all about cancel culture. All about it. Like, when we talk about freedom of speech, it should be very clear. You should have the freedom to be able to criticize your government, not worry about being arrested, not worried about being detained, if you oppose the actions of your government, if you speak out against the actions of your government. And I would take that further to say you should have the ability to speak out against those who have power, rich and powerful, corporations, billionaires. You should be protected under whistleblower acts, for example. So you should be able to come forward and say, hey, by the way, my boss or this company are doing heinous, illegal stuff that is going to get a lot of people killed. It's in the best interest of a society to have people who want to come forward to call out people in power be protected. That's important. And when it gets down to the fundamental principles of the First Amendment to the Constitution, or here in Canada, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, like, that is something that should be defended and protected. That's not what right-wingers mean when they talk about my free speech. When they're talking about it, they're talking about the N-word. They're talking about they don't want to face consequences for being vile racists or homophobes. They don't want call-out culture. That's what really scares them. They want to be able to go on TV and say whatever they want, which is one of the reasons why they say it's a massive cultural victory right now that Kid Rock just went on TV and dropped the R word in front of Jesse Waters multiple times. And like, the whole bit was like he brought a mask and he put a mask and he's like, what am I? And then he just yells out the R word. And then even Jesse was kind of like, oh, that's what we're doing now, is it? And all these right-wingers, Benny Johnson, you know, Tim Pool, the Quartering, they're all like, huge cultural victory. We've won. This is it. We've been fighting for this day in, day out. The battle has been won, comrades. And it's kind of like, yeah, because y'all want to be pieces of shit and then not feel bad when other people are like, you're a massive piece of shit. That's what you think free speech is. That's what it's always been. When they talk about deplatforming, they're like, oh, apparently you can't even say the N-word as a white person anymore. I'm getting deplatformed. They're taking me out the platform. I mean, it's just no free speech. I don't have the freedom of speech to just say whatever I want anymore. It's like, you'll never have free speech under corporations, because they're corporations. It's the companies that are dictating what our free speech is on their platforms, because they own the platforms. They get to decide. So there's no free speech there, ever, period. Doesn't matter if you're on the left or the right, whatever your beliefs are, liberal, conservatives, you name it. As long as these companies are the ones who get to be the arbiters and the judges of who does or does not have speech, there is none. They are the ones who control the speech. So there's none right there. If you want to talk in general on broader society about people, especially citizens of the United States or Canada, being able to actually say things that question authority, that question power, that question the government, and if they're allowed to actually say that out loud without worrying about the door getting kicked in or getting arrested or having ICE agents arrest you, say if you stand up for Palestine, are ICE agents going to show up at a campus and arrest you? Or if you're at a peaceful protest, are ICE agents going to show up and then detain you, beat you, throw you into a concentration camp, ship you off to El Salvador? That's what the right wing are doing. They do not care about free speech. They just want to be able to say the N-word and not have any consequences. That's it.
Hell it is.
I mean, thankfully for us, Mark just said the quiet part out loud. They're doing all of this. They're freaking out because of how popular and impactful Tucker is. Your little podcast, your little subscription platform. Like, dude, Tucker right now is the #1 podcaster in the world. He is neck and neck with Joe Rogan. This is projection. Frankly, it is embarrassing. You are exposing that you are absolutely petrified of his influence, and therefore your strategy is to minimize his reach, which is laughable, and then attack him. You are genuinely terrified that the influencers, the podcasters, the commentators who are not backing down, who are not cowering to your very obvious blanket threats of cancellation, are running circles around your numbers. That's the only reason you're calling them little podcasts, little TV shows. And again, listen, that's fine. You have every right to be upset. I get that you're angry. I get that you're worried. You have an uphill battle to fight now, obviously. But you all picked possibly the worst strategy to employ. And not only is it an ineffective strategy and hypocritical, but it is also just gross, because these are the same people who have condemned the far left for their violent rhetoric for years now, especially in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination. And then, this weekend, all—
What's the violent rhetoric, by the way? Eat the rich. You leftists have been calling for violence for years, saying that you'll literally eat people. Cannibals.
all these individuals got on stage and said things like this.
So I just want to say, I feel good about the Republican Party.
Oh, heavens to Betsy.
I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes.
Again, rich-ass fascists. Just disgusting-ass ghouls and creatures sitting there. Freaks, you know? Oh, it's so lovely. We're locking up all the coloreds. I've never felt so liberated before. And the billionaires. Well, we're not even having to pay taxes no more. I'm loving it.
Trump is my favorite president. We've run out of bombs. We didn't run out of bombs in World War II.
I don't even have words to respond to that right now. So that's Lindsey Graham, who just got up on stage. And he said the Republicans are killing the right people. Like, Lindsey, is that a Freudian slip? Like, do you want to end up on the next episode of Candace's show? Because that's basically where you're heading with this, with these types of—
He's talking about Venezuelans. He's talking about Venezuelans getting blown up on a daily basis. Most likely fishermen. There's no evidence that any of them are narco traffickers or terrorists. The United States is just like, push the button, dead, push the button, dead, push the button, dead. Isn't that just murder? Ah, not in this context. Because they're narco traffickers. They're bringing the fentanyl to Hamas, who then turns it into super fentanyl for Hezbollah, who then sells it to MS-13. It's a whole thing.
jokes. Like, this is not what you should be doing. But Lindsey did not just stop there. This is what he said next.
But if you ever run for office as a Republican and you embrace this weird shit, we're gonna beat your brains out.
This is just absurd. Like, weren't we just talking? Weren't we collectively all outraged and losing our minds over how disgusting it was for Gavin Newsom to sit on his podcast and say that he wanted Democrats to get out in the streets and punch Republicans in the mouth? And he argued that it was
Wait, Gavin Newsom said that?
him, just being, exaggerating and being emotional. And yet we said, no, no, no. This is violent rhetoric. This is completely unacceptable. And now Lindsey Graham is getting on stage and saying that if you are a Republican and you're running for office and you disagree with his take on Israel.
Okay, so Newsom threatens to punch Trump. It's so creepy how they all think Trump is an extension of all of them. A punch on the Lord is a punch on all of us. If you punch Trump, you punch every single one of us. This isn't new. Wasn't Joe Biden saying weird old creepy fucking insecure man shit where he's like, I want to fucking meet that guy in a locker room. Yeah, I'll show him a thing or two. I'm gonna, yeah, he's fat. Yeah, okay. Trump, not all Republicans.
Anything like that.
I know, it's trickled down.
He will beat your brains out. I mean, again, this is just so incredibly hypocritical. I mean, it's so hypocritical that it is almost laughable. Like, haven't we all collectively sat on our shows, sat on X, and talked about how dangerous—
That's not just a Brett Cooper thing, by the way. There was an article that came out recently. I can't remember if it was Salon or Vogue, where it's a woman who basically, as an experiment, went on like a bunch of dates exclusively with the far right and MAGA, just to kind of figure out what exactly, just to be like, is it true, the stereotypes you hear? I want to know whether whether or not like the things I hear from like, you know, the liberal side of things is entirely true with, you know, right-wing Republicans, MAGA. And a lot of it was, you know, like, you know, some of the men would take them on dates to churches. And she's like, at first it was kind of refreshing because like every date is like a bar or a restaurant. So it was nice to have something different, but it was also weird that, you know, I just wanted me to go there to a church and light candles. But what was like really revealing was how defensive, to the point that they felt personally insulted, they would get if she ever criticized Donald Trump, as if she was directly criticizing them. There would be times when she would be like, well, I just don't really agree with this policy in the following ways, and dot, dot, dot. And then they would be like, I never said that. I never said that I'd force you to get an abortion. And they're like, no, I said Trump. I'm talking about Donald Trump. Like, that's not something I said. How dare you insult me? Because they see themselves as like extensions of him. Like his toes or his lint. I don't know what it is, but they're very, very odd and unusual. Like there are left-wing people and politicians who I can be inspired by something they've done. For example, yesterday's speech by Zoran Mamdani, very, very inspiring. I thought he had a great orator, gave some great words. I don't think of myself as an extension of that man. I'm not. If someone insulted Zoran, I'd be like, yeah, you're insulting Zoran, and right now you're being a racist. That sucks because what you're saying is really Islamophobic, and I'm going to call that out. But I don't feel personally insulted myself. You haven't hurt me because we're tethered in some really strange, fucked up way.
It is, and how irresponsible it was for leftists to just call anybody they hate a Nazi. I think that that's something that we all could agree with. Now, apparently, that message didn't make its way to the people who were speaking at this conference, especially not to Representative Andy Fine, because this is what he got on stage to say.
By the way, only ever called Nazis Nazis. I always hear this from the right. They're always just like, see, the problem with you lefties is you promote violence all the time. How? You called this person a fascist. Well, I mean, what he's doing is textbook fascism. I'm actually trying to use it as a descriptor, right? Like, you think of it as just as some weird insult that is being used to try and weaponize, violence. You're trying to weaponize violence against them. Here's the logic, all right? At the end of the day, the Nazis were bad, and everyone agrees. So if you call someone a Nazi, you're trying to teach them to treat that person as they would Adolf Hitler. So that's what you're doing right now. Because you use the word Nazi, you're telling everyone, well, I mean, what's the only answer to the Nazis, right? And so you're calling for violence against these people. And that's why you wanted us all dead. You have called for us to be dead. So there you have it.
Speakers have talked about the rise of anti-Semitism on the right. But it is not enough to speak in platitudes or generalities about the fight. We must call evil by its name. 5 years ago, I was talking to my father.
That's MAGA. This is the modern MAGA movement. You can't separate these things. You don't get to put them into a whole bunch of categories. You don't get to do, hey, by the way, this is good bigotry. This bigotry is not allowed. Sorry, you're only allowed to insult the gays, trans people, black people, but sorry, not allowed to go after Jewish people. We have to separate. No, the fascists don't have off switches. A white supremacist movement is about one core thing: white supremacy. That's what they believe. It's in the goddamn name.
Watching, hi, Dad. If I was
it was a Cosmo
father,
article, thank you.
At 8:59 p.m. at night, he would say, Randy, I gotta go. Tucker Carlson's gonna be on. But make no mistake, today, Tucker Carlson is the most dangerous anti-Semite in America. He has chosen to take on the mantle of leader of a modern-day Hitler Youth, to broadcast and feature those who celebrate the Nazis, those who call for the extermination of Israel, to defend Hamas, to even criticize President Trump for stopping Iran's nuclear ambitions.
So Tucker Carlson and Randy...
Oh, and by the way, targeting Tucker Carlson specifically and not Nick Fuentes, that alone is kind of like, what? But in addition to all of this, yeah, it seems as if there's been this problem that's been developing for a very long time. The constant conflation with the actions of the state of Israel, again, independent nation, with all Jewish people. And it seems like there's a lot of like tolerance for actual anti-Semitism, racism directed distinctly towards Jewish people. But if you criticize Israel, well, then that's where things get really bad. Because there are people who do both. Nick Fuentes is one of them. Nick Fuentes hates Jewish people. He has bought into the idea that if you criticize Israel, you're criticizing all Jewish people, which is why he hates Israel. It's not because he's suddenly found a newfound love for Palestinians or he's anti-colonial or anything like that. I mean, he's a white goddamn supremacist. Colonization is part of the project. So, no. Nick Fuentes, I know that's the sales pitch you'll get from a Glenn Greenwald or Matt Taibbi or the other weirdos who are like, we need to find new allies in, our criticism of the Israeli government and stuff like that. You're never going to find allies with Nazis. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Guess who's experiencing that right now? MAGA. This is the problem that MAGA is experiencing right now, because there are no alliances with people who fundamentally want to destroy everything. Like, the people who believe in the master race, the Ubermensch, do you think at a certain point they're going to be like, well, you know what, I think we've done enough. I've done enough hate, I think we can cool it for a little while. Maybe we should work on our big tent, and we should actually bring more people into the fold, other ethnicities.
Finds mind is the modern day leader of Hitler Youth. I mean, can you not see, again, how incredibly irresponsible this is? This is the same kind of rhetoric, exactly the same, that the left has been using on us for years, that we have been fighting against, pushing back against for years.
No. The left's message is that we should liberate all people. We're not free until we're all free. We should end all unjust hierarchies. Yeah, that's the left message. And y'all have twisted the whole thing into, you are just promoting the orthodoxy and ideology of the woke mind virus because you believe in groupthink and you are the Borg and anyone who strays from the thoughts shall be punished. That's the beliefs of the left. No, that's your version, your cartoonish fucking version of what you think the left is. That's not at all been the message. And so the other side, the fascist side, the one that you're all in bed with now, theirs is about the superiority of the white race and how that has to subjugate all other races and they have to be destroyed. That's fascism. That's what you've been palling around with, flirting with. Again, you were totally fine with it as long as it was directing its anger towards gay people, towards black people, indigenous people, Latino people, didn't matter, Asian people. Like, as long as it had very, very specific aims, goals, and forms of racism, then it was tolerable.
It is the same kind of inflammatory rhetoric that killed Charlie Kirk. And here you all are employing the exact same thing. You are so blinded by your ridiculous, insane hatred of Tucker Carlson that you cannot see how irresponsible and hypocritical you are being. I mean, these tweets from Ted Cruz, I'm going to read you next, are a great example of this. So just a month ago, he tweeted this. He said, "They don't kill you because you're a Nazi. They call you a Nazi so they can kill you." Political violence is a left-wing phenomenon. Enough is enough. We need to shut it down. And then in response to Fuentes and Tucker this week, he tweeted this: "Trump's bombing of the Ayatollah's nuclear facilities made the little Nazi mad. Good." So now you're turning around and you're calling somebody that you don't like a Nazi. You're doing this out of blind rage because you're so angry that the conservative base's attitudes are rapidly changing, that Nick Fuentes is getting national attention, and so you have turned around and in response, you are compromising your own values in anger, which is such a dangerous precedent to set. And unfortunately for you guys, yes, the attitudes are changing, so again, it makes sense why this group is incredibly frantic. This is an article here. Take a March 2025 Pew poll as an example. While the survey shows strong support for Israel among GOP voters, it also reveals that more and more younger Republicans are souring on the country. 50% of GOP voters under the age of 50 expressed a negative view of Israel, compared to just 35% in 2022. These numbers line up with a number of recent polls, including an August 2025 University of Maryland Critical Issue Survey, which found that just 24% of Republican voters aged 18 to 34 sympathize more with Israelis than Palestinians. And this is just one of the many surveys on the subject. And so whether you agree with that or disagree with that, whether you love it or hate it, this is just the fact of our current political climate. And guess what? This behavior that we saw on display at this
brain rotception. Yep. Ted Cruz had some other things to say. He wanted to call out Brett Cooper directly. Brett Cooper calls out Ted Cruz's hypocrisy for calling Nick Fuentes a Nazi. Ted Cruz says, "I don't know who this angry lady is, but she's missing a key distinction. Fuentes calls himself a Nazi. He has said Hitler is very cool. Hitler was right, and he is on Team Hitler. If you explicitly side with and advocate for Hitler, you're an actual fucking Nazi." Well, you know my thoughts. Screw Bucket, thank you for the 200 biddies. Keeping up the hope has been hard. This is just what I needed, but we can't get complacent. We have to fight just as hard in 2026. I would say the fight has to be also outside of electoral politics. You need to work on unionizing your workplace so you can't get fired whenever your company wants to fire you. You need to work on forming worker cooperatives with people who have been fired. If you all got fired en masse, you just got laid off, and you have 8 to 9 months of severance and you're trying to figure out what to do next, consider forming a worker cooperative with your coworkers and building something from scratch and being your own bosses. Owning the means of production. That way no one can fire you, ever. And you will be in complete financial control of your future. That's very important. Talk about building support networks and communities. Build mutual aid groups, feeding groups that can help people out who don't have SNAP benefits right now. All of that is important. That's the stuff that needs to happen every single day. And then elections are just once. And then all of a sudden, the next day, all the problems don't just evaporate. Even if you elect someone badass like Zoran Mamdani, even if Zoran Mamdani, if he was allowed to, he can't, but even if he was allowed to run for president and suddenly he wins the presidency, or if Bernie Sanders had won the presidency, a lot of the same problems would still be there. It's not as if overnight all these corporations would suddenly be like, oh god, we need to let everyone own the means to their own production.
Thank you so much to our patrons for making this show possible. We could not fund it without you. And if you want to join, please check out patreon.com/theserfs to unlock bonus episodes, uncensored content, and all the good stuff. Thanks to Anna Loves Riley, Addercap, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hegbard Salim, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet One 85, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, Tigwick, and Words Greenwood.